This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I don't have any really crazy stories, which is really unfortunate, but the trip was good. I mean,
Okay.
I've got like one that you're just going to be like, what the hell? And I'll be like, yeah, didn't almost get killed or abducted. So like, it's kind of a wah, 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 like just boner jams. No cool, fucking awesome stories.
That's too bad.
Like I was hoping like I would get solicited for something, or like I might try to like have to fight my way out of something. Just something cool would happen.
Back from a week off that I don't remember. Stroz, have we taken a week? Yeah, have we taken a week off?
Yeah,
We've moved things around a lot, so it's hard to remember.
there was a week there where we weren't well. One of us was ill, and then
Yeah, I wasn't
think
feeling well. Yeah, that's what it was.
there was, and I think that I don't know, that might have been it. I mean, we did have like a 6 month, or no, it was like a 3 month layoff of doing this, but
Since we came back, I thought we had been pretty consistent. But you're
we
right.
have been
There was a
super
week-
consistent.
I think we recorded the Practice Squad Presents, and I wasn't feeling great, and I just really wasn't feeling up to it the next day. So I think you're right. Second time we've missed, but I didn't remember because I wasn't feeling great last time. I was like asking you if we could rearrange our schedule, and you're like, dude, I'm not here. So we're going to be talking about that. You were in Mexico. We've talked about it for what, 30 seconds off mic?
Oh, Mexico, yeah, we're saving it all for that middle segment for sure.
I'm hoping you got some good stories for us. But other than that, it's going to be all Lions, and it's not going to be fun Lions.
Can I say this real quick? I
No.
was so upset. He's like, no. Can I say? So I was really upset with where my trip ended up, because after that first Lions game and after that press conference that Matt Patricia had, I was so fired up and I was so pissed off.
Dude, the fact that we didn't get to address that comment, the comment that I have one of the best plays in NFL history in the fourth quarter, that was bad.
Like this guy is so arrogant and thinks he is God's gift of football, yet his defenses are absolutely atrocious. And on top of all that, you didn't make that play. You know,
It was also 5 years ago in a different city, asshole.
exactly.
Nobody here cares.
Nobody cares. What have you done since you've been here? Nothing.
All right. Well, coming up in the back end of the show, are you rooting for the Lions to lose already? And that's going to be an interesting one, because I think all of Detroit fan base, like if you're a Lions fan, you're struggling with where you should be. Maybe I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think there's more universal disdain for Patricia than we've seen in a long time. So we're going to get into that. But first, Stroz, you say it's as bad as the Millen Era. I want to hear it.
Bad as the Millen Era, and let me tell you why. So I went and I looked at rosters really, really quickly, just to kind of see when Matt Millen took over in 2001, what was here? What did that roster look like after that first season? Like, was there something to kind of build around? Could you do some things? And then what it looked like in 2008 when he left. And I compare that to today's roster with what the Detroit Lions have. And then I look at the fan base and kind of where they're at and their apathy meter. And all of it leads me to one thing. Life is one giant vicious circle. And as Lions fans, we are right back where we were when we had Matt Millen. And the reason I say that is, if you look at this defense is littered with expatriates, guys who basically have left that organization. And usually when the Patriots get rid of you, they get rid of you for a reason. You have no more use left. This roster on defense is stacked with those guys. I don't think there is one redeeming player on defense that you can use to build around for the future.
Okay.
Offensively.
So I want to push back there just initially. I'm okay with your Patriots part of that. If you want to just write off all Patriots defenders, it's probably a touch unfair to totally write them off. You're probably overpaying them, but that doesn't mean they're useless. That being said, you cannot just openly, like, I'm not saying they've proven anything, but you cannot write off Tracy Walker, who's shown good things. You cannot write off Okudah because he's had a bad first game.
Well, hold on. Do you build around a safety and a cornerback?
I think you could build around a secondary.
That's what you're telling me? Seattle had multiple parts, and that linebacking core was stacked.
Yeah, no, the defense was great, but the secondary is what you remember from. You can have the secondary be the core piece of a defense. overall, I understand where you're coming from. And the defense, I'm not going to fight so much. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the offense. I think your take is pushing it a little too far, but continue. I just wanted to I don't think there's nothing on this defense. There's very, very little redeeming quality of this defense. I agree with that.
Your words, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Essentially, the running backs here are just like they were in 2008. So you've got Kerryon Johnson, the equivalent of Kevin Smith?
I don't remember saying that, and I disagree with that.
I'll have to find the tape, and I can splice it into here.
My point has been this team has drafted running back every 2.5 years since the mid-2000s.
And you said that they were the same guy, whether it be Kevin Smith.
Yeah, no. So what I said was DeAndre Swift is Kerryon Johnson is who's the one before Kerryon Johnson? Was it Javid Best? There can't be that many years in between. No, it was Amir Abdullah. Is Javid Best.
That James Stewart.
Saying that these guys suck. That was me saying that you continue to use resources on a position that we've proven it doesn't do anything. It doesn't fix anything. I'll say this. DeAndre Swift is not fixing shit. We will agree on that as well.
Yes. My point is the running back core is the equivalent to what you had in 2001 with James Stewart. The running back core is the equivalent of what you had in 2008 with Kevin Smith. The quarterback is the one piece that I think is a little bit different. Your offensive line is not good. The offensive lines back then weren't any good. Your wide receiving core in 2008 was you had Calvin Johnson. That was like the only piece you had.
This wide receiving core is years beyond it. Like I know Calvin Johnson was great,
but here's the thing. With the wide receiving core, what are you really looking to keep? Like Kenny Galladay is like the only piece that you realistically can build around, and he's up for a contract. Are you going to keep Marvin Jones?
Oh no. I agree with that. Kenny Galladay. The core of this offense is Matthew Stafford, Kenny Galladay. It should be expected to be 2 running backs. TJ Hawkinson, it's way, way, way too early. He showed some flashes last year, and I think through 2 games he's been pretty good this year. I think the offense is in a clearly better spot as a whole. I don't even think it's comparable.
Matt Stafford, and I think this is where we're going to probably butt heads the hardest.
I bet you we're not.
Matt Stafford is towards the end of his career.
I agree. Not as close as you probably think, but I agree.
I'm not sure how you build around this guy. Do you know what I'm saying? In 2001, it was Charlie Batch. Charlie Batch had a couple good years. He was at the time 27. If you're looking at the 2008, Dan Orlovsky was your quarterback. He was young, wasn't very good. You also had, I think, John Kitna on that roster.
No. Dante Culpepper. I have the roster in front of me. Dante Culpepper went into the season as a starter, got hurt. Drew Stanton took over, got hurt. Dan Orlovsky took over, got hurt. Drew Henson played a little bit, and I think Dan Orlovsky came back and finished it out.
There you go. So that was your quarterback history for 2008, that's trash too. I don't see any pieces on this team that you can realistically build around. Now, the one thing I will say about what Bob Quinn has done as a general manager of this team, he has managed the cap swimmingly. You have money to spare, and I think your books are all in order. So that way, when whoever comes in to take over, and remember, I'm the guy who believed going into this season that no matter what, these guys were coming back. Boy, oh boy, has my tune changed.
Last podcast, you said the Lions were winning the division.
I did. My tune, they were bold predictions, B. My tune has completely changed. I don't think you have anything here to really build with. I think what you do have is you have some pieces that you could possibly trade away if somebody was interested, and you could kind of load up on some draft picks, maybe. But I don't think you've got anything that if you were a new head coach or you were a new general manager, you're like, man, that's a prime job because I get
no. Yeah, I don't think it's a prime job. I think I think you have a tendency to do this. You are looking at some reasonable thought processes and overreacting to them because you're emotional about it. To say this team has no pieces to build around is baseless. Is this a super appealing job? I don't think so. I think the defense, you maybe got 2 pieces. I'm trying to think, like, if I'm being optimistic, how many pieces on the defense am I excited about? I think the answer's 2. If I'm being optimistic.
That's Tracy Walker and Jeff Okuda, right?
Yeah.
So those were the 2 guys when I was running this through my head. I was running our argument through my head, right? Because I try to have ammunition for when you come back at me with stuff. Those were the 2 guys I got stuck on. I was
I can't say his name. I really
can't.
Yeah. Do it for me one more time.
Owarie.
I don't think that's right, but we'll go with it. Owarie. I think there's something there too, but I'm not willing to say I'm excited about it. Offensively, though, I think the offensive line is in a comfortable place. I'm not here to tell you it's special, but you've got Frank Ragnow, who you really like. I think Taylor Decker is perfectly acceptable as a left tackle. I'm not like your offensive line is young and it's good enough. And as you pointed out, having the money is a big deal. Kenny Golladay, I think, is a nice piece at wide receiver. I do think you can attempt to win with this team. I don't know if it's the route that I love, but I'll tell you this. That 0-16 team was turned into a playoff team in 3 years. And that 0-16 team, I'm sorry, Stroz, was significantly worse. On defense, if you want to tell me they were as bad, fine. Offensively, that team had nothing. Nothing. So I don't think they're as far as you're claiming. Offensively, I'm okay with my offensive line. I'm okay with my wide receiver. And if you want to stick with Stafford a few more years, I think he's got 5 years left. I've got no issue, none, if they bring in a regime who wants to move on from Matthew Stafford. At this point, I have no issue with it, but I don't think it's like a you have to.
See, this is the problem I have with this team, is that 0-16 team was bad, and everybody knew that team was bad. That team showed it on the field every single game how bad they were. You just made the argument that this team has some talent. So that means this team is essentially in purgatory, right? You're not bad enough to get a top 3 pick, but you're not good enough. You're not good enough.
Patricia is awful.
You're not good enough to contend for playoffs.
They're not.
Well, no, Matt Patricia is absolutely he's honestly, man, I don't understand how this guy can masquerade as a head coach. Like, I don't get it. Like, how he still has a job. And the fact that he carries himself the way he carries himself, like, either we're not dealing in the same reality and we're not seeing the same exact things, or he just has such an inflated overestimation of what he brings to the table, and he just wants to tell every beat reporter about it. Look, I'm not saying you need to go out there and be like, yeah, I suck at my job. Heaven forbid you say that, but come on, man. Like after week 1, the arrogance to make the comment about how you've had the best fourth quarter in all of NFL history, and then to follow that up, dropping your 4th straight double-digit lead. You're the only team in NFL history to have done that. You have dropped, I think it's 11 double-digit leads over the course of, what is it now, 2.5 years? You have an awful win percentage. You are one of the worst head coaches. And this is saying a lot because the Detroit Lions are absolute trash as an organization and as a franchise. You have one of the worst winning percentages for head coaches. You, sir, are a garbage can filled with dog poop that has now been lit on fire. And it stinks to high heaven. The only problem is you can't smell yourself.
I think the one place where you can get me to agree with you that this is Millen bad is that Matt Patricia is that bad.
Here you go. Would you rather have Matt Patricia or would you rather have?
Yes, I would rather have them.
You didn't even listen to me. Would you rather have Marinelli or would you rather have Matt Patricia?
Listen to me, Stroz.
Marinelli brought his picks, his axes, and everything with him, and he sucked. But I'd rather have Marinelli than I'd rather have Matt Patricia.
Stroz, if you put together a roulette wheel of 100 potential NFL coaches and you just fucking spun the wheel, and I didn't know who it was going to be, I'll take whoever it lands on over Matt Patricia. And they might be worse than him. But the point is, I know what Matt Patricia is, and the Lions aren't winning with Matt Patricia. Now, I before we wrap this up, this is how I want to basically convince you that the idea that they're in this Millen era, like, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it, hole, I guess, where it's going to take a long time to get out of this. The reason I want to fight that is I understand it was a bold prediction. But 2 weeks ago, your bold prediction that they would win the division was based on the offense, right?
It was, yes, primarily the offense being good.
The offense's ability. Now, have you seen anything in 2 weeks to tell you this offense is terrible? Keep in mind, no Kenny Golladay.
So to answer your question, nothing that tells me it's terrible, but I don't think this offense can outscore what this defense is giving up.
I agree with you.
I thought this year.
Hold on.
I thought this offense could outscore the defense.
Who's ancient on this offense? Who can, like, understand Marvin Jones is 30, maybe he doesn't come back. Short of Marvin Jones, Adrian Peterson, anything else? You should retain the majority of this offense if you want to. Nobody else.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, look, they're not young. I mean, they're not old. They are young, but I mean, Matt Stafford is probably the next oldest guy. And you said you want to keep him around for the next 5 years.
I'm saying I think you can. I have no issue moving out to Matthew Stafford when with the regime sweep, if that's what the regime wants. My point is that offense is close to being really damn good. And they're not good enough to make up for a defense, but what that means is the next regime that comes in, they don't really have to worry about offense. They get to build the defense. And I don't think, I still think the expectation is maybe not playoffs year one, but I think the expectation for the next regime should be playoffs year two. If you move on from Stafford, maybe I give a little bit more leeway, but here's what I'll say. If you move on from Stafford, it means you got a rookie quarterback and a whole lot of money to spend on that defense. It also means you've probably traded Matthew Stafford, meaning more ammunition.
You love Matt Stafford way more than I do, right?
Okay.
What would you take? What is the lowest thing you would take for Matt Stafford if you were to have a trade?
Okay, so personally, if I'm making that trade, I want 2 first-round draft picks. You'll take nothing else. No, well, if I'm making the trade,
okay.
If the Lions were to trade Stafford in a rebuilding effort for a first plus, I'm not taking just a first. But if you give me a first and a second, even if it's spread over 2 years, I'm not going to be livid about that.
See, this is where we're different because I'll take a first, and I don't even care if it's in the back half of the draft.
I think it doesn't matter. That's unimportant to me.
No, I know, I get it. I get it. I'm showing how I'm trying to prove the point where you and I are we see things so differently with this team.
But quarterbacks are different today too. Like, you're not drafting a quarterback and waiting for him to start. Like, the expectation he's gonna come in, and he better be able to perform at an adequate level by year 2.
Dude, did you watch any of the Chargers Chiefs game? Did you see Justin Herbert come in on 15 seconds notice?
And on top of that, I think a lot of rookies struggle, but by year 2, I expect you to be able to perform. And the weapons are around them. That's the other thing. Mm-hmm. Whatever quarterback you put on the field, I'm sorry, you're not saying, well, he needs an offensive line. Well, he needs a receiver. Maybe the receiving core won't be good enough, but there's going to be pieces that we know what they're capable of. So from day one, the day that the next quarterback walks in, if they move on next year, we'll be able to judge them very quickly.
I'm so let down by this team because I came in with high hopes, right? And you got me all worked up, and I predicted
I got you worked up.
Yes, you got me all worked up. I predicted they were going to win the division.
All I did was listen to the words you were saying. You said there would be a top 5 offense and a top 12 defense, and I was like, wait.
They were bold predictions.
If that's
anyways,
the case, you were telling me
Super Bowl.
All right,
so
coming up.
I got all worked up, and then they just come out and they lay eggs. And my problem is looking at what we looked at last year. Right? I think we expected, because Patricia went out, got his pieces for this defense. We expected it to look a little bit different, to look a little bit better. And it looks the exact same. And it looks like garbage. And they just keep serving us garbage. I think this entire organization needs an enema from the top down. Blow it all up, start over. That's all I'm saying. 2 weeks in. We're 2 weeks in, bro.
Oh, I've never seen, in terms of, if you want to talk about Millen Era apathy, I think we're there. I have not seen, Jim Schwartz and those Lions brought in a different level of energy to the Lions fan base that hadn't been there in my lifetime. That is all gone. All of that momentum. And it didn't just disappear because of Matt Patricia. We've been doing the Lions rewatch, and it's impressive, the way that Lions crowd is so loud, even in 2012 and 2013, towards the end of, Schwartz's run. But, you get that 2014 team with Jim Caldwell reinvigorating, and it's gone. I don't think anybody cares. Honestly, Stroz, I believe we're all going to watch, but I believe that if the Lions were able to have fans at home for their next home game, people would show up, but I don't think it would sound like a home game.
I don't think it would be a sellout either, which is crazy. Because
I think it would be a sellout this early in the season, but if this keeps going on, you might not have more than a couple.
See, I don't know about that, man. It's one of those things where I think this is like one of those summer powder kegs, right? Where you have all kinds of craziness going on. It's like this past summer, right? You have all kinds of craziness going on. You got the coronavirus. You've got the Black Lives Matter movement going on. All you're waiting for, if you're a Lions fan, in the Lions fan base, it's like this powder keg waiting to go off. You're just waiting for the right flame to just ignite it and for it to just blow.
Yeah, measure Detroit's got too many people to not get 60,000 people.
I think Lions fans are pissed, man. And
I agree.
It's coming to. I think it's gonna hit a crescendo here.
All right, coming up in 15 minutes. Where are you in rooting for the Lions right now? But first, Stroz, back from Mexico. When did you get back?
I got back on Saturday afternoon. Saturday about 6 o'clock.
You've been back for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you take the reins. How any crazy stories? Did you shoot at anybody? Did you get shot at? Making drugs? I feel drugs over the border.
No, I did not bring any drugs back. I feel bad because I was really hoping I could go on vacation and come back with like a really cool story. Like maybe I tried to get abducted, or maybe like I ran into like a cartel member, or maybe I got into a fight. I have like really no awesome stories to tell you, and like nothing like just crazy that I normally have for you, because as we both know, I generally live for the story. This was kind of a laid back trip, and it was weird. And I'll tell you this: the coronavirus totally impacted the way that the resort was situated, right? Because this place was nowhere near even half filled. There was hardly anybody at this resort, and the people that were there, normally when you go, there's usually a large contingent of American speaking people there, or English speaking people, I should say, not American people, American speaking, but English speaking people. It was probably closer to 75% Hispanic speaking people who were at this resort, which was kind of crazy. And this is like a big time resort. I ended up staying at a Ryu, and I'll say this: I don't think I will ever stay at another Ryu ever in my life. It wasn't that the resort was bad, because the resort was okay. I was totally underwhelmed by the food. I was underwhelmed by the booze. It was an all inclusive. The facility was absolutely clean. It was spick and span. It was a really nice resort, and it was on this beautiful coast in the Yucatan Peninsula. But I don't think I'll ever stay at another one of these. I've stayed at a couple all-inclusives before, and this one is probably at the very, very bottom of my list. All that being said, though, a couple cool things did happen. My very first day I was there, I was sitting poolside, having a couple drinks, and there was this lady who had been getting in and out of the pool all day long. She was older, and she was chain smoking like a fiend. Like, she would put one cigarette out, she'd light up another one, and then like she would just kind of pass out. And then she'd wake up, smoke 2 cigarettes, jump in the water, pass back out.
Stroz, is this where I asked if you hooked up with her?
No.
That's what you would do, right?
You can, but I did not.
That's what you would ask me.
It is what I would ask you. This disgusting creature passes out, wakes up, does not jump into the pool, lights up a smoke, sitting there smoking, and sits up, and then all of a sudden you just hear all this water come rushing out from her chair. And I just happened to look over, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because I just, like, she didn't get in the water. Like, she was right next to us. She didn't get in the water. She sat up, and she just started pissing on her lawn chair right next to the pool. And she just acted like it was regular, like it was normal, like nothing was going on here, nothing to be seen. This lady was at the resort approximately the entire time I was there. Every time I walked by her, I was like, that's the lady who pees herself. That was crazy. That was nuts. I don't
even know what to say.
Right?
How did you react?
I just looked at her, and I gave her like the most disgusted look in my like you could ever give somebody. Like, I just watched you urinate in front of me. Like, so here's the thing. I'm a guy who gets really pee shy. Like, I was on the beach, and I had to go pee, and I tried peeing in the water because that's just kind of what you do. I couldn't pee in the water because there were too many people around. And I'm just like, I can't, like, I just get pee shy. I can't do it. Like, I go to a stadium and I'm standing at the urinal. It'll take me sometimes 15 minutes to get the courage up to let a little squirt out. And this lady just sat up, and it was like the floodgates, bro. It was horrible. Like, Moses couldn't part this sea. That's how much came out of her. Like, you had been holding this for 2 hours. Like, it was disgusting. It was awful. Absolutely. I thought we were going to have
fun in this segment, not gross people out.
I mean, this is the craziest story I can tell you. Like, another thing happened. I thought I broke my 2 toes.
That's nothing. I break toes. I swear my toes are just perpetually broken.
But I have no idea how this happened. I went to dinner one day, and I come back from dinner, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't bend my toes. They hurt. I didn't end up breaking them, which was great, but I don't know what the hell I did to my feet. I will say this much. The entertainment was fantastic. The problem that I had, I think, overall with my vacation, and it was a really good vacation. It was a lot of fun. I drank quite a bit. There weren't enough Americans there, and by the time our trip ended,
asshole.
No. Well, like, it's hard to communicate with. Like, I don't speak very good Spanish. I have horrible Spanish. So, like, my Portuguese is probably better than my Spanish.
You went to Mexico, and your complaint was there's not enough Americans.
No, well, here's the thing. No,
just hear me out here. That sounds hilarious.
It sounds racist.
French,
I get
you're
it.
Like, why are there so damn French people?
But like when I go on these trips, I usually like to make friends. We end up making friends with a set of people our very last night there. which was cool. They were awesome. They were cool. We were looking at this one chick who looked like this bootleg Kardashian knockoff, like big fake titties. And like they're not even like I like a nice set of fakies, right? I like some nice silicone jugs. And these things were just, they looked like somebody had took those mini basketballs and shoved them into her chest. It was horrible. And then her face, like she had so much, like her lips were so injected, you just wanted to smear a little bit of spit on them and then just stick her to a window. And she wasn't going to go anywhere because it just, the suction would have just kept her there. And then she wore so, like she was hit, bro. She was like 50 something. She was half silicone, half real life. She was kind of a mess, but she thought she was the baddest bitch in the pool, which was really messed up.
She might have been. There were many people there.
I mean, there were, but she definitely was not the baddest bitch in the pool. That's for damn sure.
So wait, hold up. You've done several of these all-inclusives. Is like Mexico like a semi-regular vacation for you?
No. So I've been to the Dominican Republic. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to Mexico now. I've done cruises before where I've gone to basically right around the Caribbean. So I try to pick like different places to go when I go on vacation, just trying to see parts of the world, you know, and then get drunk and kind of effed up and come back and tell you a cool story, like how I ran into like, you know, El Chapo, and next thing you know, I'm smuggling heroin in my ass crack. But like none of that happened this time. It was kind of sad. I was a little bit disappointed. I'm gonna be honest with you. So like none of that happened. Anyways. Okay. So I'm talking shit about this broad who's in the pool, and this couple across the way sees me say, yeah, I think she's pretty old too. And like from that moment on, like we just clicked with these people. They were cool as F. It was Josh and Jen. They were the J's. I was there with my girlfriend. We were the A's. So it was cool, man.
Were you guys calling each other that? The J's and the A's, or was that
yeah, no, that was what they called us. I wouldn't call them that. I call them Josh and Jen.
That's like the cutest, like old man thing, like old couple thing that I've ever heard you say. They were the J's, we were the A's.
That's right. Oh, by the way, so like I think it was like my second night there. I did nothing but shit the entire day. Like it was horrible, man. It was like just like straight up I was like pissing out of my ass. I don't know what happened. I didn't drink any of the water.
I want to take a moment to apologize to everybody listening to today's second segment, because it's been dominated by nothing but pissing and shitting.
Bathroom talk. Dude, I don't know what happened though. Like it was rough. That second day was rough because
like I don't. That's
it. It wasn't like it was Montezuma's Revenge or anything like that. It just
the water there.
I did not drink their water there. I mean, I did have drinks, and that had some ice, but I thought the ice was made from like an ice machine that had purified water. This was it. I don't know what it was, man, but it was like I'd lay in bed and I was like, oh my god, like my stomach just made a weird nose. Let's
wrap up with something that somebody would actually like to listen to in this segment. Have you had crazy vacation stories specifically?
Yeah, I went to Jamaica and I almost got chopped up by a machete.
I mean, continue.
Oh, I went to Jamaica and basically I went on a cruise. I think we docked in Ocho Rios, and when you're getting off, when you're deboarding the cruise ship, they say, hey, there's a path. Make sure you stay on that path. Do not go. The path is going to take you right. Do not go left. Somehow I got spun around. I ended up going left, and I ended up in this. It was just this little ghetto area where all these Jamaicans had all these big ass machetes, and it was just a bad look, man. It wasn't good. I ended up getting out of it. You. No, they did, and it was what it was. So
this is the most uncomfortable I've heard you like.
It was, dude. Let me put it this way. I ended up after all of that, I was able to get out of it. I ended up because I couldn't get back on the boat. I ended up back at a Margaritaville, and I was supposed to meet up. My mom went on this trip, and my sister went on the trip. My stepdad went on this trip. I met up with them, and the moment I seen my mom, I kissed her and I hugged her so hard. Like it was. I was scared, man, and like it takes a little bit. I mean,
you don't. When you tell these stories, usually like you're very lively, but you don't sound interested.
No, that was scary as shit. It was not. Well,
Stroz, if that would have happened this time, you wouldn't. I'm not sure you'd have been ready to tell it.
I don't know, man. Like if it would have happened this time, like I've already been through some things.
You'd have been like, I was looking forward to it.
At this point,
this is the moment I was waiting for.
At this point, I've been through some things. At that time, I had not been through nearly as much shit. So, like, now I feel like I'm ready for it. Like I was ready for my girlfriend to get sex trafficked, and I was ready to meet a cartel member and for them to hold a gun to my head and be like, "Hey."
She listens to our shows, right?
She does, yeah. Like I talked about her possibly getting sold into sex most of the trip, and she was like, "Well, I hope that doesn't happen." I was like, "Me neither." Like, that's mine. I like that. Let's not have that getting tossed around by other dudes, and maybe I won't ever see you again. But I was like, let's hope I don't have to.
Good for the podcast, is what
it would have been great for the podcast. Like, could you imagine that? Oh my God!
I feel like we'd be told we're not allowed to talk about that. You would have been dealing with authorities in Mexico, and they would have told you to keep quiet. They might have shut down our whole damn podcast.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I didn't even run into any crazy federales. The federales are nuts. Like, all they really want is however much money you got in your wallet. I didn't even run into any of those crazy bastards. Like, it was like just the most grown-up lame vacation you could ever go on. I was so sad, man.
All right. As we wrap this up and move on to how you're watching the Lions currently, if you're rooting for them or not, based on...
By the way, I had sex on everything. Just FYI. I was picking up the mantle and I was carrying it for you while I was in mid-thrust at one point. I was like, this is for B. I had sex on everything. There was a table. There was a chair in there. I had sex on that. Look, I brought the baby oil. The one thing I didn't have sex on or in, I did not have sex in this giant shower they had, and I was very upset about that.
I expect nothing less from you. So the only thing
somebody's got to get laid on this show.
The only thing I want to ask, and I feel like you just answered the question, is you heard about my vacation on our last trip or on our last show.
Yes,
I've heard about yours, but you seem disappointed by it. I was going to ask who actually wins, who had the more entertaining trip, but I think you might have just answered it for me.
I mean, if having sex is part of it, then, I win most.
For you.
Oh, for me? So here's the thing. I think your trip was probably more eventful with the sights you've seen. Mine was beautiful. It was very, very relaxing. Our very first night, I ended up passing out on a beach chair in the sand, watching, I don't know, the stars and stuff. So like mine was kind of low key, but I think yours probably wins. I would say yours.
I was just anticipating more from you, man. I'm disappointed.
I'm sad with me too. I was like, I don't have anything coming back on the flight. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about the flight. So you flew Southwest, right?
Yeah.
Mine was totally different. I flew in that little death bomb known as Spirit, like the most uncomfortable seats, the cheapest flight you could get. Now, the stewardess and the flight attendants, they were kind of entertaining, but whatever. I was still terrified my entire time I was flying. I really had no problems though. So congrats to Spirit. However,
you're here.
The mask wearing was something that they pushed, and they pushed hard. You would have flight attendants up and down the aisles, over your nose, over your nose, over your nose. Make sure you're wearing your mask. I think the one time that I didn't have, I ended up passing out on my flight there because I had slept for like 2 hours the night before, and my mask had slid down past my nose, but I had my hat like over my eyes and over my face. So I don't know if they could see it, but when I woke up, my mask was like right underneath my nose. But every other time I was boarding the plane, and my mask had slipped down, and I had stuff in my hands, and I couldn't grip my mask up. And the lady's like, put your mask up. Like, she was all up in my stuff about it. They even made multiple announcements about it. It was weird because Southwest lets you get away with it. Spirit, no
and
soup.
Southwest, and the thing is, like, Southwest, when I purchased my tickets, told me I was going to have to wear a mask the whole time. Like, from the very beginning, they were adamant you were going to have to wear a mask. And then when you get on the damn plane, they don't care.
That's crazy, man, because, like, Spirit was not messing around at all.
What was mask wearing like on your vacation?
So you had to wear it when you went into the restaurants. You had to wear it, and then once you got seated, you could take it off. When you were actually on the property, it wasn't required. So like moving around the property, it was good to have it on you. Like, we always had them with us just in case.
Right.
But you didn't have to wear it when you were walking from place to place. When you went into, they have like a theater. When you went to the theater for one of the shows, you didn't have to wear it. But when you went into a restaurant, you totally had to. When you're by the pool, obviously you don't have to. When you're going to the pool bar, you didn't have to. I felt bad for the staff. Like, I've never seen a staff work so damn hard. Like, all these people wearing masks, wearing long pants, wearing long shirts. Like, dude, it was like 90 degrees and the humidity was like 1,000 every single day. And these people are just out there just hustling and getting you drinks, making sure you're having a good time. So it was I've never seen people work so damn hard at a resort. But it was super laid back, actually. Like, I worked out on this trip. Usually I don't work out on trips. I worked out in the gym.
Trips. It's nice to come back and actually be refreshed and not more tired.
Yeah. No, that was the one cool thing, right? Like, I don't feel like I put my body through a blender and then got spit out the other end. So that was cool.
All right. Well, back to the Lions. I found myself struggling with this after 1 week. Because
1 week is all this team took.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, the way they lost and to a bad football team, like, that's important. You know, like, losing to the Packers is a little bit different. In fact, so far through 2 games, I don't really think you can point that much at the Packers game as a reason why Matt Patricia sucks. The defense part, the fact that Aaron Jones ran for almost 10 yards per carry, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it was obvious that Okudah was not ready. And it's hard for me to blame anybody for that. Desmond Trufant was hurt. Okudah was forced into a role he wasn't ready for. But after week 1, it was like,
bro, you know who you can blame for that? You can blame the head coach because he put him in a bad spot. Like, you don't have to line him up on Devontae Adams and let Devontae Adams turn him into a piece of toast from a toaster that was turned up on
Adams by any means. He was getting beat by Valdez-Scantling too.
Getting beat by like everybody.
That's what I'm saying. So
you could have some help for the guy.
Who? The defense isn't good enough.
The defense sucks.
Tracy Walker was getting out-snapped by, Will Harris?
Yeah.
So that was a problem, too. But my point is, like, week 2 hasn't really changed where I'm at all that much. Week 1, you lost to what I believe to be, despite their 2-0 record, one of the weaker teams. I'd say bottom 10 team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Up towards the top part of that, in the low 20s. And you lost to them despite having a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter.
A team that we both thought was below this Lions team.
Yeah, I still do. I think talent-wise. I think if you flip the coaches, the Lions win that game.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Do you realize Matt Patricia has never beat Mitchell Trubisky? Like, how sad is that? Trubisky is not a good quarterback.
Stats I've ever heard. He hasn't won a division game, I don't believe. Has he?
No, I don't think he's not beaten Green Bay and Minnesota.
Nah, he might have Minnesota win. I don't know. He doesn't have many division wins.
I'll look. You talk, I'll look.
Yeah, but so after week 1, I found myself going into week 2 thinking, like, I genuinely don't believe you can win with Matt Patricia. And so where that becomes a struggle is, how do you root for this team to be a playoff team? Because that's what I want. Like, if I could have anything I wanted this year, the Lions make the playoffs. But the problem is, if they win 8-9 games, like, I think Patricia could very well come back. I think 8's probably the bar, but so I'm in this tough spot of I'm really struggling with how to watch the Lions. And while I expected them to lose to the Packers, it only pushes that along a little further because I don't really care about the draft position. I don't want them to tank for a higher pick. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but it's overblown in football. In football, you need to be finding players who make a difference in the second round, in the third round, and sometimes even later than that. So picking 20 versus picking 5 is not like, it's not the end of the world. It's solely about getting Patricia the hell out of here and as soon as possible. And so I'm struggling. And I got to tell you, I watched that Packers game and rooted for a win. And I think every game is going to be an experiment. Like, I think every game the remainder of this season for me is going to be an experiment. Right here, right now, I think I will root for the Lions in the Cardinals game. I also want it understood before we go to you here, Stroz, that while I'm rooting for them, I just can't be as, like, if they lose, there's a part of me that goes, that's probably what's best for this team. And it doesn't mean I don't get pissed off. But it definitely, like, it tames that down a little bit. And I think the reason I'm the way I am about it is, at the end of the day, what I root for has no impact on how it plays out. And I can't start a Lions season in week 3 not enjoying games because I'm already rooting against them. So I'm going to root for the win, knowing damn well that Matt Patricia is going to suck it away. And he's going to lose his own job on his own damn merits. I don't need to root for it to happen because it's going to happen anyways.
So the Lions have two divisional wins, both against Green Bay, both coming from the 2018 season.
And that season they didn't look as atrocious.
No, that was the season they went 6-10, and we're like, okay, cool, we just got to give it time. It's all going to come together.
So I'll say this: I didn't like Patricia after year 1. I was not demanding he be fired, but I was nervous.
You were not sold, yeah. You did not like it at all.
Yeah.
So I'm actively watching these games, rooting for this team to lose, and let me tell you why. Because I need this team to basically go 0-16, 1-15, 2-14, because I want zero doubt in Sheila Hamp's mind on bringing these guys back. I said it earlier in this show. I need a full-blown enema from the top to the bottom. I need Quinn gone. I need Patricia gone. I need them both out of here. Rod Wood can go away too. I don't care. I need it all shaken up, and I need it all blown up. My fear, this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that what's going to happen is after week 4, they have their bye, week 5? They have one of those early buys. They come out of their bye. Matt Patricia has been fired. So Bob Quinn has to fire his boy just to try to save his job. So then they're gonna promote.
There's no way
that
Patricia gets fired and Quinn keeps his job. No way.
They're gonna promote Darren Bevel, right? Darren, not Daryl. Darren Bevel.
Wait, but he's good though, Stroz.
He is. He's not a bad offensive coordinator. I don't want him as the head coach though.
No.
He comes in.
I'm saying call him by his rightful name.
It's Troy Shedd. So Daryl Bevel gets or did you see the graphic on the Fox on the Fox game? I think it was Farrell Bevel. Like they totally messed his name up. Like Fox has been horrible with a lot of their stuff with their broadcasts. Anyways, he's gonna come in. He's gonna win a couple games. He'll win 2, 3, maybe 4 games, right? And all of a sudden, this team goes from having a top 3 draft pick to having something, I don't know, in the top 15, and that sucks for this organization. And what happens is Sheila's like, hey, we got something here. We won 3, 4, 5 games. This guy's a good coach. He can turn it all around. We're going to keep him as our head coach. It's going to be just like when you had Matt Millen. It goes back to the Matt Millen thing. You're just like when you had Matt Millen, and then you end up promoting Martin Mayhew. Now, me and you both know from watching doing the rewatch, Martin Mayhew wasn't half bad at his job. Martin Mayhew was pretty decent at his job. But I don't want any of that, though.
Martin Mayhew looks pretty damn good as a part of San Francisco, too. I'm not saying he deserves all the credit by any means, but he was brought in as a part of the team that they've built.
I don't want any of it, though. I want Bob Quinn. I want Matt Patricia. I want them to fall flat on their face. I want them to lose as much as possible. I want this team going into next season to be in such an advantageous position to get this rebuild started right, which is sad that we're talking about a rebuild 3 years into Matt Patricia being the head coach after you fired the winningest head coach in Lions history. Like this team
wasn't good enough.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Lions weren't a good enough franchise or a good enough organization to go out there and fire the all-time winningest head coach and bring in this guy.
Let's not do revisionist history. You wanted Jim Caldwell gone.
I did because I didn't think he was any good. I didn't think he was good enough to get him over that hump. But then you brought in this crumb bum, and I see what the grass is like. The grass is brown. It's got dog poop on it.
The grass
got
was patches. Greener with Jim Caldwell.
It was way greener with Jim Caldwell. Yes, give me both those guys. I'll take all of them.
With Rod Marinelli.
I'll take dude. If I could, hey, look, perfect squad, right? If I could have Jim Caldwell as the head coach, if I could have Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator, and if I could have Mike Martz, remember when Mike Martz was the head coach of this team? If I could have Mike Martz as the OC, I'll take it.
Back under control as the GM.
Whatever. It's not this crap we're getting fed. I'm okay with it, baby.
So let me present you with what I think my dream scenario is, and see what you think. Because I don't want to be rooting against this team all season, and there's gonna come a point where maybe I will. Right now, mathematically, they're not out of the playoffs, and let's remember there's been an added playoff spot. Like I don't think it's out of the thought that 8 wins could get you in. My dream scenario is, even though I'll be rooting for them to win against the Cardinals, they start 0-4. They fire everybody. Well, everybody meaning Quinn and Patricia. And by the way, I don't think Quinn is nearly as bad at his job as Patricia is. I think he's bad enough. He's brought in all these Patriots guys who aren't performing. So, I'm ready to move on from him as well.
Let me ask you this real quick before you go any further. Has Bob Quinn had that moment for you where you're like, I'm done with this guy? Like Matt Patricia has done that a couple times.
Well, the moment is the 3 years of Matt Patricia.
Okay.
But I don't know how much control he has. Like once you make that hire, I think he's kind of your guy. You're locked in. And that was clearly wrong. Here's what I would say. He hasn't done enough with the roster to overcome how bad Patricia is, but he hasn't done enough negative with the roster that I think the difference between how much of a problem Patricia is and how much of a problem Quinn is, it's dramatic. That being said, my dream scenario, they both go. Daryl Bevel takes over. I can now root for wins. I can root for a playoff run. And even if you make it, you still get to assess everything from there. I don't believe there's anything about finishing strong with Darrell Bevell that guarantees a job. Okay, and here's the thing, Stroz. If you start 0-4 and finish 10-6 with Darrell Bevell, he should be a head coach.
But that's the thing, right? This organization, has it ever done anything to tell you that they do things the right way? Because I feel like if
Bob Quinn was done the right way,
if your scenario plays its way out,
Bob Quinn was done the right way.
Fine. They went and they had the NFL help them with it. Great. So if your scenario plays itself out, do you see Sheila Hamp being like, you know what, we should maybe look around a little bit? No. Like the moment that they get booted out of the playoffs or the moment that they end up getting booted out of the season, she's going to run an extension to this guy and promote him to their head coach. They're not even going to bother to look around. And that's a problem.
But see, Stroz, at that point, I'm asking the Lions to luck into a Super Bowl, and that's just not going to happen. You don't luck into a Super Bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm hoping that I can watch the regime get cleaned out. I can watch rooting for wins, knowing they're probably just not good enough. It probably doesn't matter if Darrell Bevell takes over. They're probably not rebounding from 0-4. And if they do, you know what that tells me? It tells me this roster's not as far as Matt Patricia makes it look.
I don't know. This is the problem I have, right? Because I watch this team and I see what we get on the field. And obviously it just isn't good enough. And Matt Patricia's not a very good head coach. So then to turn around and root for wins, if he's here or if he's not here, all that does, because you don't believe they're competing for a Super Bowl, right?
Oh, hell no.
Okay. Do you believe that that they have the talent to compete for a playoff spot? Are they a fringe playoff team?
I'm going to say yes, but I've said this multiple times. I believe the Kenny Golladay injury might be the single biggest non-Stafford injury you can have. I think they are good enough to be a playoff team if totally healthy with a competent head coach.
So this is the problem. I don't believe that they're a fringe playoff team. I don't believe the way this defense is constructed that they have the ability to do that. And I think you're one piece on that offense, whether it be on the offensive line, whether it be a running back, or whether it be your quarterback or a wide receiver. I think you're one piece going down from just being an absolute garbage can.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Kenny Golladay went down, and I wouldn't say the offense has been a garbage can. It hasn't been good enough.
It's not been very good.
Well, it's not been good enough.
It's not good enough to get you even close to sniffing playoffs. So with all that being said, I want this team to
You should be 1-1 right now, though. Like, let's not. You're one and
yeah, but like you should be 1-1. You should be 1-1 because the Chicago Bears aren't any good, or at least we assess them as not being good.
The Bears twice.
No, I totally get it, but you haven't been able to beat them ever. So like your head coach
sucks.
Right, your head coach is horrible. The players on the field aren't good enough to overcome his bad coaching. So like, at this point, you are what your record says you are. And my whole thing is I don't want you winning. I don't want you winning games. I get it, but I don't want you winning games that's going to end up screwing up your draft position. And like, I hate being that fan. I hate being that fan that's like, hey, it's all about next year's draft. We're only 2 games in, and it's already about next year's draft. Like, that's a problem. And I don't like being that guy, but if we're going to blow it all up and we're going to start all over, give whoever the next guy coming in is, give him a legitimate shot and give him a top 3 pick. So that way he doesn't draft a freaking cornerback.
A championship without a top 5 draft pick, then you can't build a championship team, period. That's my belief. That doesn't mean there's no value in a top 5 pick, a top 3 pick, whatever. I'm not saying that. But if you are the kind of GM who's going to come in and build a champion, I think you're going to do it no matter where your draft picks are.
I agree with you 100%. But do you not agree that the players who are generally drafted in the top 5 almost always hit compared to the guys who are drafted a little bit lower?
That there's value in those
give
picks.
give them as much opportunity to succeed as possible is all I'm saying.
But I would rather find out, Stroz, again, losing to get rid of the regime, I understand that, and I got no issues with it. But when you're talking about just draft status, I would rather find out that this team's not as far as we thought, that they were being brought so damn far down by their head coach that bringing in a competent coach and maybe a couple pieces, and we can get re-excited about this football team. Whereas if they go 2-14, despite firing a head coach in the middle of the season and rolling with Bevell, who, by the way, let's make this clear. When Bevell was brought in, it was noticeably surprising he never got a head coaching opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it's not like this is a random nobody who's like, you can't believe he's your interim coach. Right. Like if they still go 2-14, then you say, damn, this is concerning. This team's pretty damn far. If he takes over and they win 7 or 8 games, you go, okay, they're not there, but they're not that far. And the difference between picking at 1 and picking at 18, it matters, but it doesn't. I would much rather pick at 18 and realize, thank God we're not as far as they currently look. Because if they're as bad as they look under Patricia at times, it's going to take a long time. And I don't think the offensive talent should take that long. It should only take a few years of adding useful defensive pieces.
What if Bevel takes over, right? And they're only marginally better. Does that change your
better? They're still going to pick top 10.
Right, but does that change your perspective on whether, like, so let's do this, okay? Let's say Patricia gets blown out. Well, I'm assuming Quinn gets blown out too, because we both
0-4.
Well, yes, we're both saying that they're connected at the hip, right? So that happens. They need a head coach. They promote Bevel. Bevel steps in. The team looks better, but just isn't good enough to win games, right?
Well, isn't that the perfect scenario?
I think it is, but the problem is I don't trust the organization, and I don't trust the people at the top to make that call and be like, all right, cool, we're going to move on.
But again, and ask luck into a Super Bowl, and I don't believe that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I don't know. I worry about how this organization conducts itself and carries itself, and that's my problem, because they've done nothing to make you believe that anybody is competent above Bob Quinn, right? So, like, I have no trust in Rod Wood. He's not necessarily a football guy. He's like a money guy. Sheila Hamp, like, her parents screwed things up royally. And I think we both agree Martha did a better job than Mr. Ford did. But all that being said, she wasn't great. Sheila Hamp, I think probably the biggest negative against her is she had one of the loudest voices in the room that brought back Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia when they could have fired him last year.
So here's what I'll say. I wanted Patricia gone, and I absolutely think he should have been.
Mm-hmm.
It is fair to point out you were missing your quarterback for 8 weeks. And if you blow them out at the bye week, which I don't necessarily believe they'll do either, if you blow them up both out at the bye week at 0-4, to me, that is somebody recognizing a mistake. And you're allowed to make mistakes if you recognize them and fix them quickly. To me, if this team starts 0-4 and they say, eject, we made a mistake, let's clean this shit up as soon as possible, then I say that's the right move. And if they don't, then I'll complain about it then. But I'm not going to worry about Darrell Bevell doing good enough to keep his job if they just fired a head coach in week 5. Because I got to tell you, Stroz, firing a head coach in week 5, that's a bold move. I don't think many people would do it. And I'm not telling you the Lions will. But I'm saying if they do, I'm not going to be like, well, I hope they make the right move with Darrell Bevell. No, they made the right move in week 5 by admitting defeat and moving on. It doesn't matter. They're not even 0-4 yet. And I'm going to tell you something. People are looking at this Cardinals game and saying, like, there's no chance. I'm not telling you they're going to win. I'm not even picking them to win. In fact, I picked the Cardinals in a survivor pool. This Lions offense is going to be different with Kenny Golladay, and the Lions are going to be able to score. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. That's fine. I told you I think it's probably better for them to lose.
But here's the thing: can the offense put up enough points to cover what the defense is going to give up? And they're going up. They're going up against this week. They're going up against a pretty elite offense. Kyler Murray looks really, really good.
Is the Lions offense healthy, not capable of putting up 40 points?
When they're healthy and things kind of fall right, I think they can, but they've not been able to do any of that this year.
All I'm saying, Stroz, is I think that we're looking at these Lions and saying they're 0-15 or 2-14 bad. And the roster, I do not believe the roster is 2-14 bad. I just don't. And I do think Matt Patricia's 2-14 bad. I don't think the roster is 2-14 bad. And so I think you're going to watch these next couple of games, and I think it's very possible they're not 0-4 at the bye. I think it's the best thing for them to be, but I don't think they will be.
So last time this team put up 40 points with Matt Stafford under center was week 7 against Minnesota. It was that 42-30 loss. I think that was they didn't get sacked 10 times that week, but he was sacked a ton that week.
Last year?
Yeah, 2019.
He literally played like...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. That was Minnesota. Minnesota put up 42. So, all last year, they didn't put up 40 points.
Okay.
Even when he was healthy. And look, this is that
he
same
played 8
team
weeks last year, right?
Right. So the first 8 weeks, he didn't put up 40 points. And this is the same team that went out to Arizona and tied with them with a rookie quarterback in Kyler Murray. I don't know, man. I don't see that. I don't think they're going to win, and I don't even think it's going to be close.
I'm picking them to lose, but I think that this team's a lot better than people are giving them credit for, talent-wise. If you put a competent coach on this team, you would not look at the Cardinals and say they don't have a chance. All right, we got to wrap it up. It's been a long one.
It has been.
What happens when it's been a week off and the Lions have looked this bad through 2 weeks?
Going back to 2018, they still haven't scored 40 points. You got to probably go back to Jim Caldwell. What's up?
Not once, doesn't. I mean, 40 points is a lot of points.
40 points is a lot of points.
And this is the recipe for it, too, because the Cardinals move so fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll obviously revisit the Lions pretty much every week the rest of the way. Prediction. Is there a single week we don't talk Lions before the season's over?
No. Well, maybe the bye week. I don't know. Probably not, because even then we probably will.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. Very depressing one on a lot of levels, I think. But hopefully